Whoa, whoa. Good morning. I am working out in my shop today and I have a ton of stuff that I need to get done. I need to get this truck up and running again, which means I need to put the cab back together and I need to hook up that fuel pump. The roll cage is all installed now, but I need to put the seat and the seat belts back in. While I'm working on the inside of this cab here, I've decided I also want to take care of this big open mess right here. I've got an aluminum panel that I made a long time ago that fits in here, but it's really a pain to put it in because there's all these little bolts that have to be attached and you have to get to the back side to get the nut on. So my idea is to drill all these holes out and put a riv nut in each one of those, and then it'll be really easy to take it on and off. So I'm gonna go find the panel, I'm gonna go find the riv nut stuff and see if we can finish this up. Oh yeah. So that is gonna look much better than the big wiring mess that I've had for several years. I'm gonna go grab the riv nut tool and the riv nuts and see if I can find just the right size drill bit to make this work. This is the riv nut tool and these are the riv nuts, and they work kind of like a rivet. You squeeze them and they expand to fill the hole, but they have threads in the middle of them so you can screw a bolt into them. I found just the right size drill bit so I can get a really tight fit, and I drilled a little test hole right there. So this riv nut here turned out perfect. I can show you mushroomed on the back. My 1/4 inch bolt goes in nice. It's time to go drill out the rest of them in the cab. The holes are all drilled. I'm gonna use this Christmas tree really quick to deburr them all, and then we can start popping in the riv nuts. I'm not worried about deburring the backside. I actually think the burr back there might help the riv nut not spin in the hole, so it might be a good thing. And I can't get to it anyway. Sorry if there's a lot of background noise in this video. The air compressor keeps kicking on because Peyton is chopping up some stuff outside.
Ow, how did that get me in the finger?
I traded him some plasma cutting time for some goat milk. The riv nuts are all in and looking good. I'm gonna try to get a camera or something back here that I can see the backside and see if these things have expanded out like they're supposed to. And I'm gonna go ahead and start bolting this in. That is way easier than it used to be. I used to reach back there with the nuts and try and tighten these up. This is gonna be great. I think I'm all done with the interior now. It's looking better than it has in years. I'm gonna move on to the fuel tank. I'm just doing a temporary install on the fuel tank for now. I just need to run some fuel lines over to it and hook up a couple of wires. Right now, all my fuel lines are routed over to this side of the truck. I think I could pull out a loose floorboard here and route some temporary hoses and wires over to the tank. Eventually this whole floor will get replaced, but that'll work for one last ride. All right, these are my fuel hoses. I'm gonna route these down there and hook them up to the other side. And these will come up to the tank. One line is the pressure side that goes to the engine, and the other line is the return from the engine. There's my pressure line. Go there. Somehow I need to mark these so I don't mix them up. Pressure line is hooked up. Tighten that up. These are all tightened up down here. I'm gonna go up now on the fuel tank side and hook all those up. I'm using this stuff. It's thread sealer and Loctite in one, and it says it's good for fuel. So I'm gonna give it a try. I'm blocking off the vent on the fuel pump because I'm going to use the one that I made on the tank. These wires here were running to the fuel pump and to the fuel gauge, so I'm going to extend them up and over to the tank. These aren't my favorite kind of connectors, but it's temporary, so it's a good time to use up the cheapies. Got a whole stash of wire over here. Hoarding has paid off again. It's really nice when you have these little victories. I think of hoarding as a way of helping out your future self. It's kind of like a savings account, like a 401k. We'll try that out. The fuel lines are all connected, the wiring is all done. If I get some gas in this, it should be ready to fire up. I'm really curious to see how many gallons of gas this is gonna hold. I had people online saying, oh, that's only gonna hold 16 gallons. I did the math and I think it'll hold 31, but we'll find out when we hit the gas station. For now, I gotta go find a jug, get a couple of gallons in here for a test fire. The lawnmower jug has a couple gallons in it, so I'm gonna start with this. I gotta leave enough in there for one more mow or two. I'm gonna go find the key and we'll fire this thing up. I'm excited. I'm gonna prime this thing a couple of times before I fire it up to just fill all those fuel lines with fuel and hear how this fuel pump sounds with the tank mostly empty. That's actually very quiet. Fuel pumps make noise. You can hear them when you turn the key on. This one is pretty quiet for only having like 1.5 gallons of gas in here. All right, I should have fuel in the lines now. I'm gonna go check them out and see if they're dripping anywhere before I fire it. No drips here. No drips down here. I think we're ready. Oh, I didn't check my gauge. What happens when I turn the key? Check this out. This is a really good sign. When they turn the key on, the gauge goes from below 0 just up to 0. That's where it should read. So I haven't calibrated it with actual fuel yet. I just calibrated it on the bench, but this is a good sign. Let's fire this thing up. Ah, yeah, one shot. Sounding good. Now I'm ready to head to Maverick and fill that tank up. Never mind, I have a major fuel leak right here. I thought it was leak free, but that is not true. I gotta figure out where this is leaking from and then we'll do our trip. It's gotta be the pressure side. Oh, whoa. Okay. It is early in the morning and it's already about 80 degrees. It's supposed to be 106 today, so I'm trying to beat the heat. I'm gonna head to a gas station right now and see how much fuel we can stick in this tank, and then we'll get out there. All right, I've stopped to fill up for gas, and the good news is the truck ran fine with only like 1.5 gallons in the tank. That means the tank's designed well. I can run really low and it still runs okay and drives. So right now I'm gonna fill it up with gas. We'll watch the meter to see how much I can put in this tank. It came in just short of 27 gallons, and I bet I could squeeze in a few more if I lifted up the hose. I'm heading out to Sand Hollow right now to get one last trail ride in Dig Dug before it's completely torn down and totally rebuilt. When it's all done, it'll be a completely different machine. Sadly, my fuel tank is still reading 0. That means there's something wrong with my calibration. I'll have to check it out when I get back. We're here at the water tanks now. I'm gonna hop out and lock in my hubs and put my flag up. Today I'm using Onyx to scout out some new trails for some friends that I've got coming into town. I'm going to use the Discover mode to find something new we haven't done before and to find something that's just the right level for the rigs they're going to be bringing with them. Looks like I need to take a left or right here. I picked out a little trail called Resurrection, and Onyx helped me get right to the trailhead. One of the things I really love about Onyx is that I can download all of the maps. So when I'm down in a wash or a bowl and I lose cell phone reception, I've still got all the maps with me and I know exactly where I'm going. Onyx shows an extra little loop I can take here if I want to. Looks like it goes out to some cool rock formations. If you want to give Onyx a try, you can use code TomTom at checkout for 20% off your first year membership. There's also a link in the description of this video that'll apply the discount code automatically. It's probably hard to tell from these videos how harsh the ride is in this truck. By converting it to 4 links with coilovers, it'll be way smoother. It'll have a lot more wheel travel, and it'll be much more capable. There's the old fence. This put us right out on Fence Line Road, just like Onyx said it would. This has been a fun ride, but I'm here at the sand dunes now, so I'm just gonna take those back down to the water tanks. Now it's time to head back to the shop. I am sad this truck is gonna be down for quite a few months, but I'm really excited about what it's gonna turn into. So everything ran great. The fuel tank worked really good. The fuel pump is super quiet. I got rid of all the leaks back there. The only thing that didn't work was the fuel gauge. I still gotta figure that out. Right now I'm gonna move on to the rear suspension. I've got this Dana 70 axle here that I need to weld in the tubes, install a truss, and convert it to disc brakes. My axle fell off this table the other day, and I don't have a good way to put it back on because I got things blocking the way of that engine hoist that I normally use. So I think we've taken off enough parts we can just muscle it on there. That's a beast, huh? Yeah, that's not fun. Okay. I was trying to move it off of the jack stand, and it was kind of slow motion. It like tipped and then slid and then clank and then boom. I just stood back and let it go. In the comments, I've had a lot of people asking me, why don't you just move this table around and do this or that with it? This table weighs like 1,200 pounds. The top is 3/4 of an inch thick. It's 4x8, and it's just super, super heavy. So I don't move the table unless I really have to. I've got to figure out where the truss should sit on this axle. So to do that, I have to know how far up the pinion's going to be tipped. And I think it's going to be really similar to the setup I have in my truck now. So I'm going to go measure that. I'm actually going to measure the drive shaft angle down here, and that's what I'll use as my starting point over there. Woo! I need a lot more. I don't know if this is gonna go high enough. 10 degrees, okay. That's not working, I'll figure something out. This right here is pretty close. So I know I could just take this and hit it with a plasma cutter and knock this thing off. But when I do that, it gouges into the tube really bad. And I want this thing to be full strength. So I'm grinding and chopping, and it's taking a long time, but I think I've almost got this one. But I'm also burned out on doing this, so on the other side, I might hit it with the plasma. We'll see how this one goes. All right, that was a workout. I got one left to do still. Wow, that is really good. All right, when you see little cracks start to open up all around the edges, that's a good sign. That definitely was not coming off with some little claw hammer. I want to weld these axle tubes to the housing so that they never spin or come loose, and this connection is as strong as possible. To do that, I've got to clean up the connection here really well, and I've got to heat up this housing and lay in a super hot weld. I'm going to start right now with a wire wheel. I've got these axle tubes cleaned up pretty good. Most of the rust is off of there. All of the stuff that was attached has been ground off. So I'm getting ready to weld the center section to the axle tube. And the axle tube is steel and the center section is cast iron. So they have a tendency to crack if you weld these. I've had them crack before on me. What I want to do is heat this up really hot. That'll help with the cracking. I wanted to get it to like 400 degrees, but it's a big casting and it sucks up a lot of heat. So we'll see if I can even get it that hot. So I'm getting my torch set up, I'm getting the welder set up, and I'll just start burning it in here nice and hot. I'm glad I checked my welder down here. I am just about out of welding wire, so I'm gonna swap on a new spool before I get started. I've decided to run this big powdered metal core wire that I've got a spool of. It's 0.45 diameter. That's bigger than I normally run, but this is also a really big weld. So I'm gonna go with this stuff and do a couple test welds, make sure I'm happy with it, and then we'll give it a try. To do that, I have to change out these drive rolls to the 0.45 rolls. It's been a long time since I've run this stuff, but I really liked it on big steel. All right, I'm really happy with these. Okay, those are the settings I'm gonna start with. I am ready to go here. I've got the temperature gun out. Looks like we're starting at about 80 degrees. So I'll fire up the torch and we'll see how hot we can get this thing. We're at 180 right now, so it's heating up fast. We're really close to 400 degrees right now. I'm gonna go for it. I think it's plenty hot enough. That other side went really good, so I'm gonna do the same thing right here. All right, this thing's hot. It is time to weld. Whoa! That scared me there when it hopped off the jack stand, but it was a good time for a break. My gloves were starting to overheat. Let's take a look at this weld and see how I did. I think those are gonna be really good. This side is still nice and hot too. It's cooling down slow. I think they're gonna hold great. I'm gonna let this cool for a while and then I'm gonna start figuring out the axle truss. Since I got the plasma cutter, I don't use the torch near as much, but it's always fun when I do. It's perfect for projects like this when you're just trying to heat something up. Acetylene is so hot, it just heats things up way faster than propane or MAP gas. The fit is actually incredible. There's very little I'm gonna have to do to clean this up to make it go right there. It's touching all the way around on the axle tubes. It's almost touching right here. It'll be easy to weld the gap. This thing's gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna pull that off and weld up the truss on the back side a little bit. Everything that I can't get to after it goes on. I'm gonna do that, then I'll come back here and put it on and bomb it in. I welded all the backside of the truss that I'm not gonna be able to get to after it's installed. Now I'm gonna tack it in place. I've already got it leveled up and I've got it centered. All right, that is a good tight fit. Everything looks perfect. Now I'm ready to bomb it in. This axle is all cooled down now, but while I've got everything here to weld on it, I want to figure out how to convert this to disc brakes. So I got calipers and rotors from Summit Racing, and I've got a universal bracket here from Barnes Off-Road that'll mount these calipers on here somehow. So I need to clean up the hub that I've got and then figure out how to fit all this stuff together and see where to weld on these brackets. So I've got this spindle and the hub down here all cleaned up, and I was gonna mount the rotor to the back side of the hub with some new wheel studs, but it seems like it wants to mount right on the front side. So I'm gonna try that. I'll fit it all up with the caliper and the bracket and see if we can find a good spot to weld that together. Now it's time to figure out how these calipers are gonna fit on here and get this bracket set up. I know I have a problem. These calipers just won't go on. There's just not enough room between the brake pads for this thick of a rotor, but it's super close. So I'm gonna do one of those things that you should never do. I think I just took off 2,000 miles worth of life on these brake pads, but that's totally okay. I think that's all I needed to do to make these fit. My caliper is fitting now, which is great. And the brake bracket is mounting right on the back side of this backing plate, which gives me a perfect area to weld to. But it's a universal bracket, and I'm gonna have to reshape the arch in it a little bit so I can lower the caliper down. It's up kind of high. I need to bring it down about 1/2 inch. That should get almost all of the pad riding on the rotor's surface, and that's exactly what we need. The bracket's all reshaped. I'm ready to test fit this thing, and if it works, I'm gonna weld it in. That looks pretty good. It's looking like it's gonna work. I'm gonna put the whole thing back together because the caliper will hold it in place while I weld. I've got everything together now, and I've got my welder set up so that I can tack this into place. So I'm gonna rotate this back, I think like 60 degrees. I'll tack it in 2 spots. I've got a wet rag here to stuff in there to protect my spindle. Then I'll have to take it all apart so I can get to everything and do the final welds. That welded up really nice. I tried to weld it enough so that I would never worry about it again, but not so much that I warped anything. Now I'm gonna put the hub and the brakes all back together so that it's a roller, but I'm not gonna have any grease or seals in there. It'll all have to go back together one final time in the future. Check this out. This side looks beautiful. Now I just need to repeat this whole thing over here. All right, check that out. That came together really good. The truss fit amazing and the brake hardware went together nicely. So this axle is ready to be installed. That's gonna be the start of a lot of huge things for Dig Dug. I'm gonna start tearing into it and it's gonna be down for quite a while. So it was great to get this truck out for one last ride. Thanks for watching. I gotta get one of these.